Good evening and a warm welcome to another edition of the El Smug ONG All Arsenal Review Show. What a weekend it has been. We've seen Arsenal beat Wolves 2-0 at the Molineux. We didn't see the ladies go and win 3-0 against Leicester at the Emirates. And then, look, well, what about last night? Absolute wowzer, 5-0 against the Chelsea. I'm sure there's a lot to discuss. Before I start, I just want to obviously bring in my guests, but first of all, my co-host. Good evening, Gia. How are you?
Good evening. Beyond buzzing, and how the heart rate has gone from the lowest to the highest within 6 days. You know, we're strapping ourselves in. It's going to be an eventful couple of weeks, I think. But yeah, good to get stuck in and chat about it with you guys again.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see, I've kindly left out Bayern Munich. There's nothing to talk about there whatsoever. So we'll definitely leave that one in the past. And also, you was at the Emirates the other day for the Arsenal Leicester game. How was that for you?
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, an opportunity to get to go to the stadium as well. I think that's the fourth women's game I've been to this season. Yep. Bit of a different vibe to it, to be fair, but yeah, a good day all round.
And also a bit of good news last week, yet again, 1K views for our show for again last week. So going in the right direction, onwards and upwards. So well done to obviously everyone involved, and obviously thank you to all our fans and whatever we call our crowd, our guests, viewers, everyone for coming in and joining us, and also supporting us on all different social media networks. So thank you very much. Good evening, Jonesy. Last time I see you, mate, was just before the game. What a result last night.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, wasn't it? It's always good to get one up on them, especially with half the missus family being Chelsea. I think I put it on Twitter yesterday. So it's extra incentive for me that Arsenal battered the bitches last night. And yeah, I just want to say as well, you two doing a fantastic job. Brilliant show at the moment, and you're raking in the viewers. Fully deserved. Well done, guys.
Cheers, thank you very much, mate. It's good to have some bragging rights in it. It definitely when funnily enough, my mum's a Chelsea fan. I've kind of let her be at the moment. I might have to drop her a little message later, just make sure she's all right.
You've got
that. Good evening, Sparks. How you doing, mate?
I mean, we've had worse weeks than me. Been pretty good week, hasn't it? There's just everything kind of gone from disappointment to a bit of hope. So let's long may it continue. You know, when we had bragging rights against Chelsea, I was on site with a few Chelsea fans as well. One in particular who's a contracts manager for another trade who's not been very helpful. So I managed to roll a few jibes his way. Yeah, he managed to. He would say, "No, we're not talking about football," and it's like, "Oh yes, we are." I'm afraid.
Yes, we definitely are. And obviously, you wasn't at the game last night, was you?
No, I watched it on TV actually.
Yeah. How was it? Because obviously it's a bit weird. How did the atmosphere sound across on TV? Because
the atmosphere was sounded really good on TV actually. It started off a bit weird, but then it just kind of took off, and it was almost like they turned the volume down a little bit, and then it came back up a bit later on. I don't think that was anything to do with the fans. I think it was literally TNT. I think it was on that literally turned it down. So I don't know why they do that. It's a bit annoying, and the commentary is horrendous. It really is. Ali McCoist at one point, you know, when Jackson got in down the left-hand side against Saliba, where Saliba had him basically stride for stride, Ali McCoist said, that's what they need to do. He's basically got the making, or he knows what he's doing against Saliba now. I'm like, wait, he hasn't got past him yet. What are you even talking about? It was a bizarre bit of commentary, but then, people tell me I've been overrating Alan McCoy for a while, but I just don't rate him anymore. He seems awful.
Yeah, no, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't listened to the game back, so when I get some time, I definitely want to watch the second half. But just going to go to you, Dan, as well. Good evening, mate. How are you? How's the new job going?
Yeah, mate. No, I'm really well, thank you. Nice to see you all. Shout out to everyone tuned in. It's been a minute, to be fair. I haven't been on one of these streams in a while, so yeah, nice to see all of you guys. Nice to see some familiar faces. Yeah, job's going well, thank you. Yeah, and the Arsenal, not doing too badly at the moment. Some reason for hope, definitely. So yeah, quietly optimistic, but up against Man City, it's kind of hard to be optimistic when you almost got to go off the basis they're going to win all of their remaining games. So yeah, great to be back and looking forward to what we can have a little chat about tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with the North London derby coming up as well, I'm sure there'll be some really good discussion around that as well in terms of what will be a defining weekend. But yeah, always as usual, mate, always a pleasure to have you on. Right, so we're quickly going to go into the Wolves game on Saturday night. Just obviously quickly breeze through it very quickly. Just obviously I'm going to get up the team. So Saturday night, it was always going to be a tough one, wasn't it? We're just obviously been knocked out of Europe by Bayern Munich only a few days before. The thing that concerned me with this night was obviously probably not as much to travel and all that, because these are players that are kind of used to it, but kind of obviously the letdown in terms of how they felt coming out of Europe. There was a lot of talk, wasn't there, about obviously the team being rotated, which I'm quite pleased that Mikel didn't do for that game. I think it was literally we needed to get the big players out there again and just get them playing and get that defeat off their backs. Obviously, he started with Raya in goal. Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel and Kivor got the nod at left back. He decided to go with the same midfield again as Aston Villa, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, with Saka, Trossard and Jesus up front. Just going to go over to you quickly, G, first in terms of that performance. It was a hard-fought win, wasn't it, in terms of I think we had to fight ourselves more than we had to fight the opposition in terms of the tiredness, but we see the job through and, couldn't grumble with a 2-0 win away at Wolves. And we've got to remember, this is the same Wolves team that have obviously beaten Manchester City at home this season and also Spurs.
Exactly that. And to be fair, this fixture is always they always give us a good game. I think last year it was 2-0 as well. And I think, like you said, coming back from the sort of heartbreak and obviously being away in a different country, having to come back, get straight back into Premier League again. I think it was always going to be that type of game as well, sort of a slow burner. And you could tell in certain phases of the game, especially Rice, he looked absolutely gone through no fault of his own, but you could just tell that there was something. But obviously towards the end, he managed to find that little bit of extra and sort of switch back on again and helped us obviously get the second goal. But yeah, I think for me, I thought it was always going to be that kind of game. It wasn't going to be an easy one, but just obviously more importantly, getting the job done and coming away with the 3 points is exactly what we needed, and we did it.
Yeah, definitely. No, fully agreed. And going over to you, Jonesy, what was your kind of thoughts on the performance and just getting out of the Molineux with 3 points in the bag?
Yeah, like you said, we were dead on our feet, to be fair. I actually feel we were a little bit lucky that Wolves had their injury concerns as well. It felt like two teams were really tired and knackered, and we just had that extra impetus what we should have, because we're challenging for a title to get over the line. And that's what we bought players like Rice for. That 100 million will be nothing if we get over the line come the end of the season. He dragged us through that last 20 minutes, I would say, of the game. This is pure dedication, his running ability, his tackling power. But it's one of them grounds, isn't it? Get in, get out. It's like shoplifting. Just get in, get out, and just don't get caught. Get yourself out of there, get home and get resting. I don't condone shoplifting, by the way, but yeah, just get in, get out and go home. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just glad we got out of there, because I could just imagine the meltdown and the continual what it could, for the players. But yeah, I'm just glad we got the 3 points.
Yeah, you just want to hope the security guard at the local supermarket ain't watching tonight, mate, because you'll be definitely getting from around the Sainsbury's local tomorrow in Holloway Road.
Yeah.
Or if he's an Arsenal fan, he's all right.
Yeah. I'm just going to say some good evenings quickly. Good evening to HBFFC. Good to see you on, mate. Good evening to BX Gunner. It's good to see the Misfit on here again. Thank you very much, mate. Good evening to Ryan. Good evening to also Ryan. Gooner in Detroit. Good evening, Tarek. And good evening to the Colonel as well. So some good old facing this night. Yeah. Any questions you want to ask the panel, feel free to obviously fire them across. I'm going over to Sparksy. Obviously. We got the 3 points and obviously no injuries as well. Surely that was obviously the biggest kind of result really over coming out of there, isn't it? Because obviously when you're away at Munich doing all that travelling and literally playing the majority of the team again, injuries is something that we can't afford at this point of the season.
Yeah, I don't think we have the rotation capacity that City have got. So we just have to kind of muster through and hope everybody stays fit. And fortunately they did. No thanks to officials and basically being kicked off the park at certain stages. That Totti should have got a yellow card in the first 2 minutes, but then he lasted another half an hour before he actually got one. Which was a bit of a joke. That's that challenge on Saka just completely upended him, and all the memes are Saka limping, this, that, and the other. Well, now you see why he's limping, because he does get kicked. But yeah, it took a bit of beating. It's quite nice to actually have a bit of physicality in the team, where they're not actual soft soaps and they're not just going to lay on the floor crying and whatnot. They're actually just going to get on with the game and still be professional and get on with the job. So it's quite refreshing to see that we don't have that soft centre anymore. Obviously there's a hint of some of the diving that goes on, but I just think that it was a professional performance. We did what we needed to do. We didn't really bust a gut to do anything else. We just tried to put the game out of sight. And I still have criticism that the rest doesn't come early enough. So you kind of get to the point where you're actually over the line and you just instantly get those players off. Would be my only criticism, really. But overall, top performance, professional performance, 3 points in the bag, and away, get some rest.
Yeah, definitely. Some good points raised there. Going to go with you, Dan. Obviously, as I said, mentioned it previously. Obviously, Wolves have got some good results. They did have their injuries, mind you, but coming out there with that performance, I felt as well, like especially in the second half, that we seemed our old selves again in terms of our away performances, where we literally kind of pinned them back in their own half for a good 20, 25 minutes. And it seemed like the Arsenal that obviously we was kind of seeing probably literally about a month ago, where teams just couldn't get out of their own half.
Yeah, 100%. I think the most important thing from that game was just to get 3 points. Like, no matter how you do it, no matter what has to happen, it's just about getting 3 points. After that, loss to Bayern Munich, the loss to Aston Villa, it was just a tough situation, really, where you just got to get the confidence back up. You got to get the goal. You just got to get out of there. Like Jonesy said, with 3 points in and out, that's the most vital, important thing. And credit to the team, they managed to do it. And yeah, it wasn't the most free-flowing game, and definitely I know we'll get onto it, but with the Chelsea game, they look much more back to their original good old selves, especially in the second half, with the goals scored. And yeah, I think the Wolves game was just about getting back on track, really, and the team managed to do that. So you've got to give credit to the team on that.
And just obviously mention as well, obviously Thomas Partey come on after I think it was about 80 minutes. Then that for me was like the turning point in the whole game. It just kind of then released Declan to do that box to box job. And do you know what? I was worried going into that last 10 minutes, but once Partey come on, it wasn't naturally what he was doing, but it was the freedom it then give Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard to do what they had to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the thing with Thomas Partey, right, is he's such an incredible player when he's playing at his best, and the upside of Thomas Partey is, I think, Arsenal's best, deeper midfielder. He's so good, but then it's how often do we actually get that upside? He's injured so often. When he's coming back from injury, especially since he's come back from this injury, and the small cameos he's made, he's definitely not impressed really. But he's playing, I think, getting a few minutes in that Wolves game and having a few little kind of moments to build up his confidence. And against Chelsea, you look back to, the Thomas Partey that we saw from a few seasons ago, when Arsenal originally signed him. And like I say, the upside to Thomas Partey is an incredible midfielder, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He's so good and can, just the way he kind of speeds up the midfield process and he links the defence to the attack. I think he's a quality player, and Arsenal are going to need him for the final games if they are going to win the league title this season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we'll probably get into him a little bit more when we discuss the Chelsea game. Just one question I've got here. I'm going to go to you, Jonesy, because you're a man who's been to many experiences. If there was one game that you could relive, one Arsenal moment, what moment would it be?
Old Trafford when we won the league.
You're not asking. You're not sniffing it again, are you?
No, it's going to happen again, mate. I'll tell you that. But yeah, it has to be that night. I was off school. Dad kept me off school. We was up there together. First time I ever had a pint. Probably a tequila as well. But yeah, amazing night. Mind you, I was only 14 at the time, so yeah, it was a great night. I'll definitely want to do that all over again.
Well, I might fire that question over to all you guys a little bit later as well. So all in all, 2-0 victory. All good. We then obviously had another 3-day break, as we seem to, at the moment, only be having 3 days in between breaks. And then obviously Chelsea come into town last night. I'm going to go over to you first, Jonesy, on this one, because obviously I was in the pub with you at 7 o'clock. When the team come out, you could see a bit of excitement, couldn't you, across everyone, that obviously Partey was coming back in and Tommy Asu was back in as well. And obviously Havertz up front. There was a massive belief that I didn't personally myself see the team losing last night when I see that team sheet.
No. I mean, if you went around the whole of that pub last night and asked them to put a team sheet down, what they wanted, 95% of that pub would have said that. You would have had the odd one saying something different, maybe Cedric starting. But yeah, you would have had that. And then, but the excitement just filled the pub. Even, us, we were smiling. Like, this is what we want to see. This is what we've wanted, This is what we wanted against Villa, but obviously we didn't get that. But yeah, as soon as I saw that team, I said, we're going to batter them. I was worried beforehand, before team come out. I was a bit worried about Chelsea at home because then what it leads to at the weekend. But as soon as I saw that was it, the confidence. And I think that's what spurred the stadium on at the beginning, because it was electric before the game started. The fire cannons are out. The ground was in uproar. They had their little inflatable Champions League trophies, bunch of arseholes. But yeah, once that team come out, I think spurred the fans on, which obviously created the great atmosphere in the ground, which we had at the beginning of the game. And yeah, I didn't see us losing. As soon as I saw that team, I thought, that's it. They're going to get bad.
And just going over to you, G, obviously Tommy Asu missed out on Saturday, but comes straight back in. He's like the unsung hero, isn't he? He's going to be like really important over, I believe, especially the games hopefully against Tottenham and Man United when we do go away. I think he's going to be really key, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And I do think he had a really good performance away at Bayern Munich, to be fair to him. After not being in the team and starting very often, to have helped us through as we did, we were quite solid. And that was pretty much down to him. And again, obviously last night, he offers that, although you do see him sort of drifting into the midfield a little bit. So he's sort of trying to adapt his game as well. But the pace on him, obviously his defensive abilities, I think, is helping us a heck of a lot. Lovely. And like you say, he's a bit of an unsung hero. Maybe isn't one of the bigger names, but I mean, he fights for our club, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? And I was delighted to see him get a game, and hopefully he can, as much as we can say that Kivior's done really well, to have Tommy Asu back and fit, I think is very important for these last couple of games.
Yeah, apologies. Just have to throw that little one in there. That really cracked me up this morning when I see that one. Some good banter with that. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think obviously he's such an important player, and like he has come back, but you know what you're going to get with him, and especially when you've got like you're up against a team that's got pretty good wingers. And to be fair, and I'm going to go over to Dan on this quickly. But for me, I thought their wingers were pretty good last night, and then when they did get on the ball, they were a massive threat. There was a part of me going into half-time, though. I think half-time come right at the right time for us last night. I felt that the team was you could see the fatigue in the team, which made the second half performance even more incredible, to be honest. Because I'm going to be totally honest, when I was watching that game last night, I was thinking if we can just hold on to a win here, or get an early second half goal, then do you know what, it might be a bit more comfortable. But I actually thought Chelsea were in the game at that point, and I thought their wingers were their outlet.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, Chelsea kind of grew into the game a little bit as it went on, and there were some interesting moments when, Jackson had that big chance, which has obviously been well documented online about putting it wide of Raya's post, and he's just a very confusing player. I don't know if I think he's incredibly talented, but I just don't know if, starting week in, week out for Chelsea's, at this stage in his career, the right, position for him to be in. But regardless, I think, they were definitely a threat at some points, and they were creating some chances. And like you say, I think, halftime was just needed to really just take a breath, take a moment, reset, and go again. And 4 goals, they went again, didn't they? Not bad, to score 4 goals against Chelsea. And I think it was, honestly, I'm still just getting over it, but the performance from Martin Ødegaard last night he's just such a joy to watch.
Yeah.
And when he's firing, and I've been fortunate enough to see quite a few Arsenal games this season, and some occasions when Arsenal are building attacks and he's orchestrating them, just through the middle of them. He's one of those players when for years, when years go by and you look back on someone like Martin Ødegaard, you'll just be like, he was one of those incredible players, and I just think he's a joy to watch, especially in person. You can appreciate him that bit more, I think, in my opinion. And last night he was just exceptional. A lot of players were exceptional, but for me, Martin Ødegaard was the pick of the bunch. And just what a player! And to think Arsenal only paid like 35 million euros for him, 70 million less than Chelsea paid for Enzo Fernandez. It's crazy. And you think 100 million would probably be a bargain for him. It's honestly, he's mental. He's so good. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Martin Ødegaard.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm a massive fan. I think he's got stronger as the season's gone on. I'll be honest, I thought Aston Villa in the first half, he was amazing in the first half in that game. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that day. But when you see the ability he's got and what he carries out, but it's not just about what he does on the pitch, is it? It's what he does off the pitch as well. The way he conducts himself. He doesn't matter where win, lose or draw. He's going walking around that stadium at the end on his own. I just think he's an absolute asset, an ambassador. And when I was talking about the Declan Rice coming into Arsenal, I was saying, like, for me, Declan Rice is 30 million alone just on what he does off the pitch. I'd say it's exactly the same for Ødegaard. I think we're so fortunate to have these two players in the same midfield.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the summer's just about finding the perfect third midfielder to complement them, because I don't think you can gamble on, Thomas Partey's fitness for another season. So, Declan Rice and Martin Ødegaard will be a force in Arsenal's midfield, hopefully, for years to come. And it's just about finding that perfect, person to complement them, perfect partner to play alongside them both. But they're both really, really good. And Declan Rice is, taken to Arsenal like a duck to water. He's just been so, so good. And huge fan of Declan Rice as well. Just incredible player and the perfect fit for Arsenal. So you've got to give huge credit to Mikel Arteta and the staff for getting a deal like that over the line. And incredible players. It's a special team.
Yeah, definitely. And also with the goals go flying in last night, that's over 100 goals this season, which is obviously another massive achievement. I'm going to go with you, Sparks, because I know you like a bit of debate on the referee in front. Obviously, the misfit, Sam. What did you think of Tomiyasu, the tackle on Tomiyasu? Red all day for him. And he's saying, at this point, I don't know what gets you a red card anymore. And then we talk about that tackle. But we talked about the one on Saturday as well that wasn't given. What's your thoughts on both the tackles?
I think the one was it Kilman that did the one on Havertz. I watched that and I thought that was a red, and I see why people were saying it's not a red. I get that. I don't agree with them. I think it was a red all day. I don't think there was enough of the ball involved. I think that they were saying that he's just mistimed it, and I was like, well, it doesn't look to me like he's really gone for the ball at all, and he certainly hasn't got it. So it was a red. It was a red for me, but I kind of understand why he wouldn't give a red. That makes sense, even though I think it's a red.
Yeah.
Purely because of the debatability of whether he's actually going for the ball and whether he's just late for the ball or what. For me, last night's one's a red card all day long. The ball's nowhere near. He stood up on Tomiyasu's ankle. He made no effort to pull out of it. He just turned away. And I think that's the biggest sign that they know they've screwed up than anything else. That he just literally turned away from it. And you also put a bit more force in when you do that than anything else, because you're not trying to control it anymore. You're just trying to evade the referee in sight. I do think the Kilman one was a bit worse because he actually followed through with a scissor on it. So again, that's probably pushes it more to red. But again, I can see why he didn't give the red for the Wolves one. But I don't really see why that's not a red last night, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I haven't. To be honest, I haven't seen the tackle back from last night's one yet. But it does seem to be that obviously VAR trying not to get involved, if whether that's right or wrong, in terms of obviously what he's supposed to be there for. But I think we've got to start getting back on the line of obviously protecting the players on the pitches as well, because what we don't want is to go back to the days, do we? Where, and I know I'll keep going on about like the tackles probably with Arsenal players, but at that time there was quite a number of Arsenal players that obviously were receiving the kind of tackles that were quite leg breaking. So what the last thing we want is obviously, and it's not just Arsenal, it's protect every player in every team. The last thing we want is people out on long-term injuries. So, yeah, I think there needs to be a review on it again, and I think a little bit of a stamp down. If I'm being totally honest with you, well, I'm not sure.
Can I just say that as well? I'm not against referees and whatever. I'm not against them at all. It's just that I see these things, and it's not just necessarily in Arsenal games. I can be watching any game, and sometimes you just look at them and you're just like, oh yeah, that's just naughty, and it's. I know sometimes it just comes along as though it's moaning, but yeah. I think personally you've got to call it out whether you win or lose, because that kind of flags up the criticism a bit more, because it's like, well, at least you're being balanced rather than just moaning about it when you lose, and when you win you're just silent about it, and it's just it's just irrelevant. So I think calling it out in both instances I think is more important than the actual calling it out in the first place.
Yeah, no, I think there needs to be definitely a review on it in terms of, as I said, I'm not sure there'll be much drive on it at the end of this season, but maybe at the start of next season with them kind of tackles. And I think once you get a bit of alignment with it and show one or two red cards for them kind of tackles, it kind of filters back down, don't it? And it makes the player think twice. Like we're at the business end of the season as well, aren't we? That's the other thing now. Every tackle, every point, everyone's desperate for, aren't they? So it's obviously the time where you expect the kind of feistiness within the game. So yeah, I'd just like to see a little bit more protection at times. And like you say, refs can miss things, but VAR, for me, VAR can't miss things. But that's
something else who's got glass legs as well. Let's be honest. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. But yeah, he just needs to kind of stay fit himself, don't he? Really,
yeah,
first and
exactly.
foremost. obviously back onto the game, as I said, like going to go with you, Jonesy, because obviously I felt going into half time that we was kind of, I would say hanging on a little bit, because I just felt it seemed to me that the players had tired quite drastically in that first half. Did you feel the same watching the game?
Yeah, I did. I mean, the guy I was sitting next to, we said to each other like half time, like when we come out second half, we're going to need an early goal, because you know we could see Chelsea getting back into it, you know, because they're, you know, no matter what team Chelsea put out, they've still got dangerous players, you know, and even though, you know, they might have had Michael Jackson up front, they still had a striker up there, and he could score at any given time, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think whatever was said at half time, whoever said it, was it players? Was it obviously a bit of Arteta as well? Was it a light bulb? You just don't know. You just hope that it rallies them up for the rest of the season, and we could do with that again. I know we'll come on to Sunday, but yeah, it seemed like we were given a health pack. I mean, Sparks is a gamer like me. It felt like we got all our stamina back, and we come out completely up for it, and like a different team, like we'd drunk prime. Do you know what I mean? It just felt like
battle rage.
Yeah, but definitely he was on it, and yeah, we just literally battered them the second half. But I was worried at half time, to be fair.
Yeah. I think I had the exact same conversation with the bloke in front of me. But obviously we come out in the second half, and it was just like wowzer, weren't it? We got that second goal, and then that next 15 minutes was absolutely magical. I'm going to go with you, G, obviously watching it on TV. Was you expecting anything like that in the second half?
Oh God, no. I was the same as you. You could tell that I think sometimes an early goal is really good to like kick things on, and it was quite a physical end-to-end fast game. But you could tell that Chelsea were building confidence and getting back into it, and we were maybe holding off a little bit. So I was more thinking, let's just get to half-time. Nothing stupid. Just see it out, and then we'll go again. And that's exactly what we did. But yeah, coming out was like a different animal, wasn't it? I think plenty of times previously we've been known more of like a second half team, and we showed it big time yesterday, and it was just magical. I didn't want it to end.
No, we definitely didn't want it to end. And like it was even after we went 5-0 up, we actually had opportunities to go get that sixth goal. Like Martinelli had that shot saved. Was it Declan Rice who hit the post as well? And then it come back out, and then obviously it was just like a few blocks in the way. It was brilliant, but it made me think that sometimes when you do get an early goal like that in games, it can actually make it a little bit more tougher for you at times. And I felt that we got the goal really on, which I think eased the players' nerves, and obviously just got like at least you scored then, and takes the anxiety away from the fans. But I just felt that we kind of, even though we had the opportunities, we was very vulnerable on the counter attack against them. And they did show that they had some promise in terms of, I think, like you said, Dan, Jackson, when he's got the ball and carries it, he's really good. The problem he's got is the final product is not there for him at the moment. And I thought the two wingers, and to be fair to them, both of them, like they do seem, if you get them in the right, like I was even thinking to myself, if you had them two wingers in your team, they would be such different players under Arteta to what they're seeing at the moment. And you can tell with Chelsea, it's very much of a mismatched team at the moment. They've got some really good players, like Conor Gallagher. I think he's an absolute brilliant centre midfielder who does a busy job and does a lot there. But then you start looking at the goalkeeper, you start looking at defence, you start looking at the strike, and you think, there's no surprise we beat you 5-0 at the end of the day, because you're just not all on the same wavelength, and they're probably not on the same calibre as us as well. But yeah, it was absolutely incredible to kind of watch that second half kind of materialise. Just going to go back over to you, Sparksy, on that. Obviously, Ben White got a couple of goals. Really, he should be going to the Euros as number one right back, shouldn't he?
Of course, he should, without a doubt. But then the argument is with Southgate that I can't remember who said it now, that he's like fourth in line even if he goes there, because Southgate doesn't play players on form. He just picks his favourites. And he's not going to get a game anyway. And I reckon that's what's happened. That's literally what's happened. I reckon he's been in the dressing room, and he's basically gone, you know, I'm just sitting on the bench. I'm not going to play. Not going to do anything. What am I doing here? You know, if you're not going to play me, just send me home. I reckon that's literally what he said. And and that's what the beef's about, I reckon. I mean, I have no evidence of that whatsoever, but that's what I can imagine him saying, or imagine a player that doesn't particularly take every second of football to his grave or whatever. You know, he has a life. You know, besides that, so so why wouldn't you say that? I mean, but I think everybody knows my opinions on Southgate anyway. It's just I don't think we'll ever win anything while ever we've got Southgate. But we could do a whole different show about that. Yeah, he definitely should be going. He's definitely the second best right back in the league, if not the first this season. Just such a danger. The overlaps he does just drags players out of the way. He's a shitbag to players. He's just got everything. He's just, yeah, he doesn't get enough credit either. Even from Arsenal fans, he doesn't get enough credit. He's just a joy to have in your team. He really is.
I'm just going to shoot Dan on it as well. Do you think there's a better right back in the Premier League at this moment in time than Ben White?
Oh man, Kyle Walker's an incredible player. Incredible player, and you look at the way that he handled Vinicius Junior in the semi-finals in the Champions League. Just, you know, the pace, power. He's got everything really. But I mean, the changing of the guard is coming. Trent's a fantastic player as well, but I'm a huge fan of Ben White. And I've been saying this for the last couple of days. I just think, you know, how he's managed to go from playing at centre back to such a high level, to playing at times, you know, in maybe a more slightly deeper midfield role under Bielsa at Leeds, to now playing at right back under Arteta, to play all of those positions to such a high level is just, I think, testament to him. And he's, you know, his attitude, you know, again, it's so funny we say these things, you know, his attitude is so good and so spot on, but, you know, apparently these are some of the things he lacks in the England setup, which just doesn't quite add up. But Ben White's an incredible player. It's a shame that he doesn't get the opportunity to play for England. I do hope that whatever the situation is over there can be squashed this summer and he can play for England at the Euros. I think it would be a shame to not have Ben White as part of that team, because I think he deserves to be there and he deserves to be in the conversation to be the starting right back for England, especially if Saka's starting, because the relationship between the two of them is just brilliant for Arsenal. So there's no reason why they shouldn't use that for the country as well. But yeah, Ben White's an incredible player, someone I've been a fan of since day one, and yeah, I think that his effort is unmatched and incredible. Is he the best? I don't know. Kyle Walker and Trent are very good at what they do as well. I wouldn't rather have Kyle Walker or Trent at right back in Arsenal's team at the moment, though. So I mean,
he's definitely up there, isn't
he? Yeah, for sure. I mean,
he's
Trent's
in the conversation.
Yeah, he's in the conversation. I mean, Trent, I'd say more because Kyle Walker's getting on a bit, and you've got, I think Trent's an incredible player, but then is he better in midfield? He's, I don't know, but yeah, Ben White's a sensational football player, and incredibly pleased that he's at Arsenal and that he's playing so well at the moment, and has been playing so well ever since he signed as well. And that £50 million, just, again, not bad value for money at all. Incredible for what he's given to the club so far.
Yeah, definitely. And just something else I want to go over with you. Obviously, Kai Havertz, obviously joined in the summer for 60 million. Was it 60, 65? But obviously come here with a lot of grief, didn't he? At the start of his career at Arsenal, a lot of people weren't happy with the signing. I do think now we naturally got him in his best position. I naturally did think it was his best position to start with. But he had a brilliant last night, didn't he? And he's become a really strong player for us over the last 4 months.
Yeah, he has. It was just good to see him celebrate as well. 2-1 Sheffield United, by the way, crazy.
Jesus. Please don't sack him.
Yeah. Kai Havertz, yeah, no, he's been super. I think he had a bit of a poor first half, but the second half he was completely different animal. He took his chances. He had chances in the first two, but you know what? I think he's had a few games. Maybe the Bayern and the Villa game. He came under a bit of criticism for some of the chances he had, especially in the Bayern game. But I just think he's growing and growing in that position, and I still think Arsenal need to sign a centre forward in the summer. But he can offer so much in that role, and I'm much more of a fan of him in the centre forward role than, say, that kind of left 8 role, so to speak, in midfield. I think he offers a lot more up front because he's so physical, he's so good with his back to goal. Often the kind of chances that, the moments where he's lacked quality has been, when he's in front of goal, when he's got the chances. And the first half he showed, continued to show a few of those little, moments where, a lack of confidence in front of goal maybe. But running through and scoring that goal, sliding on his knees in front of the North Bank, if there's a confidence boost, that's definitely it. And then, the second finish was the finish of like a seasoned pro striker, as flicked it nicely onto his foot and then cut it, to the near post, in off the post, and that was the finish of a seasoned striker. So, I think Kai Havertz is continuing to grow in the role, and going away to Spurs, going away to Old Trafford, he'll have a big role to play as well. So, I'm a big fan of him and what he's bringing, but I just think you just want to continue to see that development. But I still think Arsenal need to sign a striker this summer, personally.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's key this summer. But it's interesting, isn't it, that we talk about the striker situation and how desperate we are for a number 9, and we've actually scored the most goals in the Premier League this year. Which does actually show you, like, if we got a number 9 up there, and the right number 9, where that could lead us next year could be really exciting. Obviously, before we move on, obviously, I know you guys want to see that result again, so I'm going to treat you one more time. So, obviously, Arsenal 5, Chelsea 0. A great performance in the main. Well done to the team, and obviously the manager for obviously picking the side and obviously delivering that kind of performance as well. It was absolutely superb. We're going to go on to the Tottenham game now. First and foremost, I've had a question come through from AFC Always. So I'm going to go over to you first, G, on this one. Would you change anything for the North London derby lineup, or would you go to same against Chelsea?
100% the same as last night. Like, that's, like I said, with Tomiyasu coming in, a little bit of, it's a slight rotation, but I think it's all about momentum at this point, isn't it? Like, they performed like that and they got through it. So let's and then we have the availability of the bench to come off as well. I think Partey had a brilliant game last night. He was you could see that we had a lot more freedom and control, which is fair play to him because obviously it was his first start properly for a while. I think we would just stick with the same. They did the job, and if something isn't going right, then we have someone on the bench to come and change it, don't we? But 100% keep it the same for me.
And going over to you, Jonesy. Obviously, first and foremost, would you stick with the same team? There is obviously Martinelli sitting on the bench as well, who's obviously has had many minutes. Could he potentially come in on Sunday?
I'm kind of like, don't change it, just keep it the same. Trossard's doing great. I know we were saying he's like an impact player, but I think last couple of games he's proven that he can do it from the off. He's been brilliant. He got us going yesterday, and even during the game where he flicked it on and was on the run, that was amazing bit of skill as well. So I'm kind of with you guys. Martinelli for me is a bit erratic. You never know what you're going to get with him. I mean, he did come on and he had a couple of good chances, but then I think Trossard would have put them chances away if he had got them that late on in the second half. So it's just with Trossard's finishing ability, he gets the nod. But I would not touch that team. I do not want to see Zinchenko anywhere in that lineup on Sunday. Please, Partey, play on Sunday. That's all I want.
Yeah, and I was going to go over to you, Sparks, on the question of Partey, because obviously he played a good 70-odd minutes yesterday. He had another 15 minutes on Saturday. Obviously, Jorginho was sitting on the bench as well. That's quite hard to keep him out of the side Sunday after yesterday's performance, though, isn't it, Thomas Partey?
He's got to play. Even if it's 70 minutes again, he has to play. And I think when you're playing Havertz on that left centre mid role, kind of where it is, I don't exactly know where it is. It's just a bit of a fluid position, isn't it? It's an interchanging position, if you like. But I think it works better with Trossard there rather than Martinelli because he kind of holds a position. So he actually fills in that gap and then kind of gets into the position. Martinelli's kind of gone backwards for me a little bit because he used to have that thing where he never really looked up and he didn't when he did, he kind of didn't do either or. He kind of was indecisive, so he ended up just taking a weak shot or doing a pass that kind of gets intercepted, something that's not quite cutting edge. Whereas Trossard, I think, has got a bit more tricky feet. He's a bit quicker. He's a bit more decisive, and he can see. He's got a picture of what's going on. So I don't really know what's happened with Martinelli from that point of view. Maybe he's just took a confidence knock, or maybe this just the style where we're going down the right and we're not flicking it over and just not building down the left as such. Maybe that just doesn't agree with him at the moment. Maybe he's in a bit of a learning curve. I don't know, but I think keep it exactly how it is, and when it gets to 70 minutes, again, think about the subs, but hopefully it's all done by then.
Yeah, definitely.
5-0 up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even need it to be 5-0, I mean, a 2 would be all right, maybe even 3. But, 3 points vital, isn't it?
Would you inject this in the last 30 minutes? Partey, Rice and Jorginho. I don't know what we have in there, Kane, but I'm not putting him out. Odegaard out on the right. He's too good for that, mate, in my opinion.
He's even spoken the funny facts, wasn't he, Don?
Going over to you, Dan. Again, obviously kind of discussing Thomas Partey's performance last night and probably giving him that head start now to be picked for Sunday. What's that?
2-0 Everton.
2-0 Everton.
Jesus.
Is it 2-0? Yes.
Cool. That's a big result tonight, guys. Big result. That's derailed me massively. That has absolutely derailed me. 2-0 Everton. Wow. Well, I'm not going to say nothing just yet anyway. But yeah, let's go back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. Going to Thomas Partey again. Some of his biggest performance for me have been in the North London derbies. When I think of that performance last year at Tottenham, I thought he was absolutely superb. He scored that wonder strike in the first game, didn't he, at the Emirates? He nearly bettered that, didn't he, in the second game when that shot cannon back off that post.
Off the post,
for me, he has to start on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. My stream, by the way, is behind a bit, so I'm just seeing the goal go in. Calvert-Lewin with a header. It's decent, to be fair. Scenes. Just need Man City to drop point. That's it. I'm not massively bothered about Liverpool. It's nice, but just need City to drop points, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, Thomas Partey, he's got to start. He's, like I said earlier, his upside is he's Arsenal's best midfielder. I think in that deep position, he's so good. And we've only seen it once or twice this season. We saw it in the Community Shield, and then Thomas Partey's barely featured since. We had that weird kind of right back experiment at one point, and I wasn't a fan of that. And then, obviously, he's only just come back from this injury that he's had. But that midfield, without doubt, of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, in my opinion, is the best midfield Arsenal can put out. And I think getting the games behind behind himself that Partey's now had as well is huge. As long as he's somehow not injured himself in this game as well, which with his record wouldn't be surprising. But touchwood he hasn't. But touchwood he hasn't. With a bit of momentum behind him to get up for this game. I think he's had a good few minutes, and I'd be quite disappointed if Jorginho came in, because I've been a big fan of his contribution, and I think Jorginho's done a lot for this side this season. In a few big games, he's been massive, but I feel like more recently Jorginho's just, when Partey's come back in, you've realised what he can offer, and Jorginho's not quite been up to it, in my opinion, a little bit, although his contribution overall this season's been, commendable, and absolutely think that it's been a good bit of business to get him in, and I do like him as a player. But yeah, Thomas Partey, he's got to start on Sunday. It's a huge game, huge game. North London derby at Tottenham, season riding on it, and I saw as well that Arsenal can confirm Champions League football and St Tottering's Day. So confirming obviously that Arsenal are going to finish above Tottenham on if they beat Tottenham on Sunday. And I saw an interesting piece from Kaya from Football London saying, look, listen, like, this is to show how far Arsenal have come now by saying, Arsenal can finish above Spurs and get Champions League football, and everyone's like, okay, cool, but we, the big thing's the title. It just kind of shows how far Arsenal have come, and what a huge game. Can't wait for it, man. Can't wait for it.
And that is long ago, is it? It's not so long ago where it was like, the Champions League football is the be all and end all. If it's not, you're not getting Champions League football, our season is over. Mm-hmm. So, and it's only a year ago, essentially, that's happened. That we've gone past that stage. It's just ridiculous, really.
And it's weird how we always play Spurs at like the kind of like business end of the season. Like we always play Brighton at home at the business end of the season as well, I feel. But yeah, obviously, last time at the Spurs was a memorable, a memorable win for Arsenal. Was it 2-0? I think it was. Saka with that like weird deflected own goal, and then Ødegaard from distance. I think a game like that, scoring early is a huge thing to keep that crowd quiet. And if it can be like it was last year and Arsenal dominate like they did last year, then that'd be amazing.
I think some couple of good points there. Catherine saying is Liverpool this season becoming the Arsenal of last season. I think a lot in terms of their performances now. They're winning games and just scraping through games. It does remind Liverpool definitely do remind me of Arsenal last season. Do you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, in some ways, just because obviously, well, clearly derailing at one of the key parts in the season. I drew up an interesting kind of similarity between Arsenal and Man City in some ways this season, where obviously City last season kind of got better as the season went on, and they towards the end they were just unstoppable, really, weren't they? And I feel like Arsenal have got better as the season's gone on this season. I just thought that was a little bit interesting, but hopefully Arsenal can finish it as strong as City finished it last season. And I secured my Everton ticket today somehow. And that final game at Everton at home could be huge. I just hope that it's still all kind of. I hope City drop points for the sake of it. Obviously, I'm biased in this particular circumstance, but it's just so boring if City win all their games between now and the end of the season. But if they drop points, and I don't know where. I feel like Brighton have got so many injuries. They play them tomorrow, don't they? But they've got Spurs to play at Tottenham, and I feel like Spurs always give them a good game. It's just like, I think
Spurs are going to drop that though. They're just going to roll over if they've got their Europa spot and they can't get their Champions League spot. There's potential that they can just roll over for that, and just to stop us winning the title.
I don't know. It depends how petty. I don't think Ange's that petty.
This is Tottenham talking about, right?
Yeah, Tottenham. Yeah.
Yeah, no. You just mentioned petty. They built a stadium with like 100 more seats or something like that, just so that they could say.
Yeah, but I don't feel like they. I don't think you can really question their. In my opinion, I don't think they drop their professional standards to to lose a game on purpose. But I mean, I don't know. It depends what's riding on the game when we get there. But yeah,
it will be an interesting one, won't it? Yeah, it will be.
I don't know where City are going to drop points personally. But yeah, I hope they do at some point.
Yeah, no, I think it will be an interesting one. I don't think Big Ange, if I'm being totally honest, I don't think Big Ange would be the kind of manager to just throw it in the bin. But yeah, the problem with Spurs this year, then I don't want to say too much because, like Canterbury Gooners just said here, North London is impossible to predict. Form goes out the window. Form definitely goes out the window. But maybe tonight is a good wake-up call for us to say, look, yeah, we did win 5-0 the other night, but Spurs are going to be on it on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? And then the players will be even more focused. So seeing something like this tonight could be good hindsight for the players to kind of think that, especially the first 20 minutes, Spurs are going to come right at us, aren't they? Don't get me wrong. I think we've got all the tools in our locker to cope with whatever they throw at us Sunday and even more. Yeah.
We're better off if they do.
Well, yeah, of course we are. If they, I don't think Big Ange changes his tactics, mate. I don't think you'll see that. I think it'd be a North London derby game.
Yeah, if they come for us, it's like suicide for them, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't tend to disagree. I think we're better away from home. Personally, take yesterday's performance out of the way, where we was absolutely brilliant. I think we're so set up well away from home at the moment. It shows you in all the clean sheets where we struggle. Is when we get at home and the teams that have played the low block or we don't finish our chances when we should, and then we kind of struggle. Probably showing why the Aston Villa game, the Brentford game weren't easy as well, was it? But definitely away from
last night that worried me because it was like the first goal went in so early, and it was like, did we score too early? You know, and so you get to half time and it's still 1-0. It should really been 4-0, something like that. And you know, you think, right, okay, is this going to turn in the second half? So, you know, it's got potential to spin around quite easily, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever an early time Arsenal can score. Do you know what I mean? But I think, I just think.
I kind of meant we scored. There was too much distance between the first and second goal, more than scoring too early. We didn't kind of consolidate it with another goal. I think
that's where world-class. I keep saying world-class striker. There's not many world-class strikers out there. But if you get yourself a top striker, I think it'd be totally different. I think if we went out and bought someone like Isak, for example, just say his name, for example, I think it'd be a totally different ball game. Do you know what I mean? I think we'll be 2-3-0 up. I just think at the moment there are areas that we need to prove. The left-hand side definitely, I reckon, would be something that Arteta really looks at in the summer. But that striker would definitely change them kind of games where you're sitting there 1-0 up and where you should be 3-4-0 up.
Do you think he's preparing for that already? Do you think Arteta's actually preparing for that already? Yeah, the Hazard in that left 8 and whatever is definitely something he's looking at quite long term, isn't it?
Definitely. With Timber coming back, and I'm glad you mentioned that because obviously we're going to quickly discuss Timber because I know Dan's got to leave soon. Obviously, Timber coming back in that team, I think, is a big thing. I think that changes the whole diversity of how Arteta revolves that team. I think Havertz will potentially be that player who probably will sit around the midfield who pushes right up alongside the striker. And I think the Timber injury kind of derailed that. There's definitely a method to Arteta's madness first game of the season. In that first half, where I don't think, as you said, Dan, I don't agree with it. Thomas Partey is a defensive midfielder for me, but he played right back. But I think when you see what he was trying to do, I think we'll probably see something like that at the start of next season again, with some different personnel. And with Timber back in the team, I think it transforms that whole defence midfield, which then supports the attack more. So when teams come at us with a low block, we're literally pushing right up. And as you were seeing in that first game, I think we was playing with, if I'm wrong, and kind of remind me, guys, we'll be playing with like 5 forwards at certain points that first half against Forest.
I think so, yeah.
So I think there's he definitely wants something like that. But yeah, he needs the players there to be able to do it. And unfortunately, he hasn't had the left backs this year, has he? So, and that's been a key situation. But I just think that down that whole left hand side, there's room to upgrade, and I think once he gets the upgrades, defensive midfielder again, he's got to replace Thomas Partey. That's a big position for me, because that if Thomas Partey's fit all season, we're not even sitting here talking about a title race right now, in my opinion. Well, we're talking about how we won the Premier League probably a couple of weeks ago. That's how.
Do we give him another year? Do we give him another year and basically get somebody in to support him as well? Because if he shows that kind of form, with a transition into somebody else coming in to take over the reins from him, and it's only a year, then
we'll be first to it. If there's someone else who comes
we're not
in,
going to get massive amount of money for him now.
Would Arsenal want to pay the wages though?
Well, I mean,
I think personally,
I've got Champions League sponsorship deals now, so surely that shouldn't be a problem.
I think with Thomas Partey, I almost think you just let him play out the final year, and what he can contribute. You just take that. As a Liverpool just hit the post. You just take that as a positive. I think if he is fit for decent spells in the season, he can definitely contribute. But I don't think you can rely on it. I think you've got to buy someone, bring someone in. And he is on big wages.
Not buying anybody. I'm saying keep him as well as buying somebody for the transition.
Yeah, that's what I reckon.
From that kind of thing, so that you're basically playing him, and then you've got the option of playing whoever you're going to bring in. Because I believe as well that if Partey are being fit for good portions of this season, we wouldn't even be having a discussion now. We'd be
of course.
Points well ahead.
100%. Any games that was, 100%. If he had been fit, that would have been so much more for Arsenal this season. But like you said, I just think having someone to rotate with him, if that works with Arsenal's, wages structure or whatever they want to do, you want that person who long term can play and complement Odegaard and Declan Rice. But I think for the season to have the option, because I feel like for so long as well, Arsenal have only had like the starting 11 and midfielders, and the fitness hasn't been great. And when you need those players, they've not really been fit. I'd just love to see. I'd love to see Arsenal have a bit of midfield depth and quality in that depth, rather than no disrespect to him, but not like a Lokonga to bring in. You want someone that can come in and, like Manchester City have with so many people on their bench, you want someone to come in that can just contribute to the first team. If they started, you wouldn't have a problem with it. And I just think, man, I know so many people have mentioned it, but if Arsenal had kept Granit Xhaka this season, I don't think you'd be having the conversation either. Because if you had that midfield of Rice, Granit Xhaka, and Odegaard in the same, I know it's the boat's kind of gone and people have spoken about it, but
But
you're bang on, mate.
But I also think as well that we need to be buying now. We need to be buying starters that have the quality, have the level. We don't need squad rotation on a bench. We need players that are going to go straight in the lineup, that are going to compete for position. And because otherwise we end up with the Jesus Zinchenko situation, which potentially we've outgrown them, even in a very short space of time, because they have elevated the level and we've kind of usurped them more or less. So you buy I
think Zinchenko maybe. I just think Jesus is so unlucky with his injuries. And again, you've got to take that into account. But I feel like Zinchenko is potentially one you could say, maybe he's not kind of moved at the same pace that the rest of the side's moved with. Although I think last season he was, a huge player for Arsenal. This season he hasn't been. But I think Jesus has maybe been a little bit unlucky with injuries at some points.
Yeah, no, I think Jesus definitely, as a squad player, I think will be a massive asset moving forwards. And like you said, like if you keep Partey in Jesus, if Partey does stay in the club, Jesus stays in the club, and you still strengthening them two positions, do you know what? That's massive strength and depth. And just to go back on your last point there, Sparksy, obviously with Arteta, like he ain't looking to buy bench players in now. Like when you see someone come in, they're starting. It's like when he brought Raya in. It was obvious what was going to happen. People going, he ain't going to play him. He is going to play him. Havertz.
Well, even Havertz, from that point of view, it was clear that obviously it's
clear everyone
starting berth, and the ultimately the main position that he was bought for didn't really work, but he's found another place that's that he did work, but obviously we're looking for better quality in that position, so he's got to transition back to the position that he was intentionally bought for. So I think that's an element of the trial period where it's kind of we're catering now for when we get that number 9 to actually play there. So I think it's very much City-esque, where they did that before Haaland came in. They were kind of already transitioning to that style of play before they actually got him, so that they were prepared. So he made the biggest impact. I think probably the drop off now, from a City point of view, with Haaland, is that they've kind of all got used to it, and it's not new anymore. So they're like, well, we might do it, we might not do it. They're all egos at the end of the day, aren't they?
Yeah,
definitely. Obviously, I'm going to let you go, Dan, because I know it's nearly 22, mate. Obviously, thank you for coming on. Obviously, before you go though, one last thing: give us a score prediction for Sunday.
Oh man, no, thank you all for having me. It's been nice to be back on, and I'll hopefully catch a few of you up at the Emirates between now and the end of the season. Score prediction for Sunday: such a huge game, man. I can see it being, I don't know. I think it will be a game where if Arsenal can score early, then that would be huge for them. The same way Trossard scored early on, last night. I think that kind of set the pace, set the tone for the game, and was a major factor in Arsenal winning the way they did, I think. But Spurs, they're still a solid team. They're much more of a solid team than Chelsea or Manchester United, in my opinion. Yeah. But I think Arsenal is still going to have to be at their best to make sure they get a win. Score prediction: I'm going to say 3-1 to the Arsenal. I think there'll be a few goals in the game, and a game like that, you think of the reverse fixture with the amount of emotional, and I think that was the first time I've seen an Arsenal game in a long time where at the Emirates where it felt like they just didn't have any kind of control on the game. Jorginho coming on that mistake for the Spurs goal, you just felt like Spurs could score again at any point, and it was a bit of a worry that game. But Arsenal have moved on a long way since then. Yeah. But I think, I'm going to say 3-1. I think there'll be goals, but I think Arsenal are in a much better place than Spurs at the moment, and I'm confident they can get the win on Sunday.
Brilliant. Well, fingers crossed, mate. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating St. Totring Day. Nick didn't even come out of that right there, but we'll also be celebrating Champions League football hopefully on Sunday as well for second season in a row, and then hopefully look forward to the last 3 games. But no, mate, thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to having you on. I'd love to get you on soon. Hopefully, maybe a title parading one or something like that.
Oh, don't.
100%. We'll do an in-person live stream from the Emirates at the. No,
absolutely, man. I'm all over that. If that happens, mate, you know, there's going to be some kind of stream there.
Lovely stuff. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
So obviously thanks to Dan for coming on today, sparing us an hour of his time, which is really nice to have. We're going to go into the women's game now on Sunday. So Arsenal played Leicester at the Emirates. Obviously, G, as we said earlier on, you travelled over to obviously North London to kind of watch the game. How was the day in general? How was the atmosphere? 42,000 tickets were sold again, which was absolutely superb. Considering obviously it was just, I don't want to sound bad, but it was just Arsenal Leicester. But when you think of the game, and probably it wasn't promoted as much as the bigger games, I thought that's a really, really good turnout. Still.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously the build up was as it always is. To be fair, there was I managed to finally get, because it was a 2:00 kickoff. So obviously Sunday trains are a little bit later, but I managed to get there with at least an hour to have a drink and make my way slowly with the gang across to the stadium, which has not been the case in the last couple of games. I've either missed most of the first half, or they haven't really worked in terms of the kickoff times. But I think it was perfect. We got in the ground maybe like 40 minutes before kickoff and just sort of soaked it all in. They were obviously still just coming out to warm up when we got in. So it was quite empty at that point, and it didn't fill out to maybe 10 minutes after it kicked off, which is seems to be a thing for the women's games. They didn't really seem to get there ready for kickoff. But yeah, I've got to say the atmosphere was strange.
Yeah.
I think it was, as you said, it was Leicester. No disrespect to them, but it wasn't the big game of Chelsea. It wasn't North London derby. And again, there's not really much riding on it. We know that the league is gone. So it was just a case of getting the job done. There's a cracking view from my seat there. We've been in the same sort of seats for every single game. So it's really nice. We sort of just get in our place, see some mates, be together as you can in the women's games. And yeah, it was great to have Beth Mead back in the goals. She looked really good as well in that game. I think we've said a couple of times before that she's maybe not made it, rightly so, after her big injury, but I think she's starting to hit some really good form now. And we did play some really good football as well, which is good. So I think that's 26 goal contributions in 23 appearances in the WSL. Considering most of that is post ACL is not bad. But she's also now level with Kim Little for the highest scoring at the Emirates with 7. So again, another bit of history making in that kind of game as well. But yeah, again, like you said, 42,000 is not what it has been, and you could tell. But also now saying that out loud, say 42,000 wasn't as good as we normally get is nuts. But that's the level that we have made. So all credit to the club as well, because they did have certain sections where there were flags and scarves on the seats as well to sort of help create things. And yeah, it was a really good day.
Brilliant. I mean, obviously, as it's good to see, Sam Beth Mead's now finally coming back into kind of the form and the swagger that we knew that obviously she had before her ACL injury, and what we see in the Euros a couple of years ago. Just obviously kind of discussing regarding her, obviously moving into obviously the back end of this season, and she's starting to pick up the goals again. We should have her back in fine tune, shouldn't we, at the start of next season, which will be an absolute massive boost for us over a course of a whole season, because the goal difference, as you see this year, has obviously been a bit of an issue. Scoring of goals has been a bit of an issue at times. This is something that we can kind of obviously work on moving into next year.
Exactly. And I think we have to, as fans, be more realistic of how these injuries are affecting players. I mean, we've seen it with Hector Bellerin, didn't we? He never came back the same player.
No.
And it's not his fault. But sometimes they are just such big injuries that you're not the same. You don't have the same speed, or maybe the confidence is gone there to not go into a tackle or run as fast because something might happen. Especially with her, most of the girls, they didn't really do a lot for it when it happened. She literally just turned and it was gone. So you've got all of those in perspective to come back and finish the season and keep going. She's been back in the Lionesses recently, which is great, and probably helped along the way as well. Just getting back to where she was before, it will only help. And again, with Leah Williamson, she was pretty damn good the other day, which is maybe one of her best performances for a while. Viv actually came on as well. We weren't expecting to see her at all, because she had some problems with her knee afterwards. So that was great to see. She's obviously going to get, if she stays, gets better. And obviously Laura came back as well. She came back in a game previously, but there was the first Emirates game. But just to have these coming back now at the perfect time. And then, like we've said before as well, they'll have the pre-season. I know some of them are going off to the Olympics or whatever, but there isn't a major tournament. So they can have that rest, have a good full pre-season, and be ready to go again. So I'm already buzzing for next season. Yeah,
definitely. And I was listening to George's show last week on one of the other channels, and he obviously had Tim Stillman on, and they were obviously talking about kind of recruitment for next season. And it seems that a big focus next year will be on the left wing position. And when you start thinking, naturally, we could do with an absolute out-and-out winger, couldn't we, moving into that team moving forwards?
Yeah. And I still think goalkeeper. Although I've got to say, she made some fantastic saves the other day, and she does get a lot of stick from me too. But you got to go on with the performance. She was brilliant the other day, but I still think that is an area we can consider. We do have a lot of attacking options when everyone's fit, but it's sort of who is going to work in this team going forward. I think Chloe Lacasse is amazing. And underused.
Yeah, I really like her.
Yeah, maybe so much as we might see some players go as well, and a little change in the guard slightly. But yeah, there's always room for improvement, isn't there? And another striker, I think.
And what about this little picture?
Yeah, so this was outside the Emirates after the game. For those of you who don't know, this is Sabrina D'Angelo, the second choice goalkeeper. She's Canadian international as well. But yeah, after the game, I think sometimes the rush to the pub can be quite a lot, and the busy they get, it's sort of the least you enjoy that for the time being. So we actually decided to just hold off and slowly come out of the stadium, soak it all in, and sort of wait around and meet some people outside, the fellow Gooners. No intention to meet any players, but a couple of them did come out. And it wasn't something I really wanted to put myself into because, first of all, Amanda Illisted came out, and obviously she's pregnant. And there was a lot of people sort of literally going like this to her. And it was making me worried, thinking the lady's pregnant, like she needs a bit of space. It's not, they expect signatures and pictures now. But Sabrina, yeah, I got to say, I would be shocked if she was there for an hour taking pictures with everyone, signing everything. And it got to the point where we were just stood around chatting between ourselves, and there was only about 2 or 3 people around her. So we thought maybe if she's been there for so long, maybe it's a nice, we're not going to push our way through. We'll just see if she's okay with it. And she was honestly the nicest person ever. She was out of court. I obviously said, if you don't mind, like, could we have a picture? And I said, like, nice to meet you, and tried to have a conversation. Because there were some people just sort of shoving a phone in her face, getting her to do all these TikTok trends. And I thought, oh God, the poor girl.
Yeah, I can imagine it.
She was lovely, and like really made. Yeah, she didn't have to do it, did she? So some of them did come out and just literally bolt off, which is fair enough. But yeah, it was really nice to get the opportunity to meet a player for sure.
No, definitely. We're just going to quickly, obviously, have a look at the kind of team for Sunday. Obviously, there was no. Lottie weren't in the team, was she, Sunday? So obviously we had Fox Williamson, and just actually going on to Leah Williamson, she's now looking that she's coming back into her old self as well, isn't she? And yet again, that's going to be another big plus next season as well coming in, because obviously we haven't had her for 3 quarters this season, and obviously being the captain as well. Just an absolute massive plus, and the leadership that she provides this team and the drive that she gives the team in terms of moving forwards is second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said a few times before on here, she's a Gooner through and through. She knows what it's like to play for the club, and she has missed out on a couple of the Emirates games this season because of reoccurring issues with her knee and obviously not being fully fit. So yeah, to be back and played the whole game as well, she was outstanding. She had a few cheeky nutmegs in there as well. And nothing was getting through her. So yeah, again, really good to see going forward as well. And I think it won't be very long, I don't think, until she'll have the armband full time, but she certainly is a captain within the squad. So it can only be beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with Williamson, coming in, and obviously I still think there's still room for a centre back potentially moving forwards to come in as well. How do you see that moving forwards with herself and obviously Lottie in the team as well? Do you see that being a centre back partnership moving forwards?
Yeah, I do think so now, especially with how good Loss has been. I don't know really why she was out the other day, but she wasn't in the squad at all. She was there. But yeah, they just seem to be, they're at that age, I think, where they just understand each other so well. They know the club, they know what it means to be an Arsenal player. And they're going to be the starting two. Obviously, Amanda's going to be out for quite a while she finishes her pregnancy and has a baby, and get back to fitness again to whatever that may look like. So yeah, certainly the centre back options, because I think Steph Catley actually filled in as a centre back the other day, so we are a little bit thin in that area, but yeah, again, something to concentrate on in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously Russo and Steen are kind of starting up front again, which is obviously kind of now happening in quite a number of games. Obviously Beth Mead got 2 of the goals in that game. For you, who's your man of the match? Well, sorry, man of the match. Sorry, that was the wrong thing to say. Lady of the match.
Player of the match.
Yeah, or player of the match. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, it's a tough one because I think they all had such a good game. Emily Fox actually won it in the stadium, but and as much as I do like her, she did fade away quite a lot in the second half. So I would probably give it to Russo. She scored an absolute beauty of a goal.
Yeah, second goal was good one.
Yeah, and she was just really, really hot on the heels of that day. Stina was a typical Stina performance. Some days she's there, and some days you don't really notice that she is there. And she came off quite early, so I would say it was Russo that day for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a slap wrist for me there. Apologies, guys. I think that's a lot of hours and not enough sleep. But definitely, and I think the big thing with Russo for me, what I've seen this season is her all-round game, isn't it? Like she's not just your number 9 striker. She can literally float into kind of different areas of that kind of attacking midfield area and kind of deliver decent crosses. She's always involved. I think next year we'll probably see the best of her as well.
Yeah, she settled so well. I think she scored 12 goals, which is obviously across competitions, but I think that's a very good return. And she's already on 5 Emirates goals now, considering Kim Little and Beth Mead have played more and scored 7. She's now on 5, so I think that's a really good return for her first season, getting into it as well.
Definitely, and obviously, I've been quite vocal in terms of my kind of support around, obviously, Kim Little and Katie McCabe at times. But Palova, she's obviously really settling in now, isn't she? What a player she's starting to become to be in that team.
Yeah, dare I even say the Martin Odegaard of the women's team. And I was having a good chat with Lottie. Obviously, we all know Lottie. The other day as well, and we think actually she could be the one to take over Kim Little's role. I know obviously Kim is a lot more defensive, but I think in the scheme of who we've got, she would naturally, I think she would do very well in that position. And again, like Declan Rice, have the opportunity to still come forward, but I think she's more interested in getting stuck in and creating. Some of her skills were class the other day. So I think now she's cemented her name in the starting lineup regularly now. I think that's going to be more of a thing in the future when Kim is ready to step down.
I think she's quite fortunate as well that with a player like Kim Little that she's playing in midfield, with leadership she supplies. You've got Leah at the back who's got that leadership for England anyway. And like you said, she'll kind of settle into that role on a full-time basis probably when Kim obviously retires. You look at her as a player and you think that she can only get better in my opinion. And I think we've probably seen the best of her over the last two months. And I just think next year, I think we'll see her kind of rise as well. And I do think if we can get that kind of left winger in as well, I think that will bring out a lot in terms of our game moving forward in terms of the strikers as well. Because I think at times we've been quite limited, haven't we? And I think we've been quite used to having Fiv up top and playing to that kind of style. And you think of her goals, what's it, 100? Well, it's about 180, 190 goals, is it? If it's not even more now. It's absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. But when you take them goals away, and like you said, you put Russo in, I think people just naturally thought she's going to come in and start banging goals in straight away. But when you start reflecting, you think, well, yeah, she's got 12 goals. But when you see what else she does around that team and what she does to give to that team and the assists that she kind of supplies, I think, yet again, next year, she'll start becoming that all-round striker in that team. And with a settled team in there, with the right players back, I think it's a really exciting time next year for Arsenal fans. It should be really good moving forwards.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we said, there's obviously going to be a lot of changes within the WSL. I don't know if you guys even know, I only found out at the Conti Cup final that the FA aren't actually going to be in charge of the women's anymore from next season. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but it's a new sort of governing body. So not only is there going to be changes, obviously, with managers leaving, this, that, transfers, whatever, but there's actually a big change happening, and hopefully for the better, to keep continuing to let it grow, because again, even seeing that Leicester game the other day, it was so much more competitive all over the pitch than I've maybe would have seen last season. So yeah, let's hope we're in for the ride, and yeah, it's getting more exciting as we go along.
Can't get me up, well, Colonel. He says, I just love my left wingers. Need one for the men and women's. Bang on there, mate. Bang on there. Just going to go over to you, Jonesy, quickly. Obviously, your whole family, apart from yourself, went on Sunday, didn't they? Obviously, I suppose it's obviously cheaper prices and it's good for them to go there. How do they find it? Do they really enjoy the day?
Yeah, they love it. It's hard to get them to the Emirates to see the men's side of the game. So obviously, the next best thing, the women's, which is elevating towards, men's status, you want it to get there. But yeah, it's a good way to introduce them to football, especially my little ones, the twins. They love it. Harry's still boy. He's like, oh, I want to watch the men. So once he gets out of that boy phase, I'm sure he'll be fine. But yeah, my teenage son, he's nearly 16, and he enjoys the women's side of the game. A lot of girls play in his school team as well, so he's kind of been brought up with that. But yeah, the missus goes there more than me now, to be fair. She goes with my sister a lot. G had the pleasure of meeting them. I was a bit busy with work, and then I come home and just enjoyed some peace and quiet, mate. You'll love that when the kids get a bit older, mate, and they can piss off out and you can just chill and enjoy football at home. But yeah, no, the kids love it. And long may it continue, like more games over the Emirates. You can get them there. I got Paige to Meadow Park last season. I haven't been able to do it this season with my bloody league, but they
I'm pretty ingrained into my mind that obviously when I first take my boys, they'll probably go to a women's game first. So I'm being totally honest, just so because I think the environment and obviously it's easier, isn't it, to get kind of tickets and all that kind of stuff. But you never know, do you? A few more years' time, if it starts continuing to develop, it might actually be quite hard to get the tickets. That's where you want to be, don't you? But honestly, 42,000 yet again, Sparksy, like for a game like Arsenal Leicester. I think the good thing, what you said there, G, is that I've been pretty disappointed. Well, not even disappointed. I think Leicester have been atrocious over the last couple of years. So it was a surprise that for me that obviously it was literally 1-0 up to around the 75th minute, and you did see kind of improvements, didn't you? But going over to Sparks, it can't be too long now till obviously that they'll start moving in there on a full-time basis, as if they can work it around both the Arsenal men's and women's team, I would have thought.
It has to happen, doesn't it? I mean, because obviously, if there's that much demand, then they can't be in a tin pot stadium. They have to be moving into the Emirates and actually getting some kind of gates and whatnot. And the more gates they've got, the more tickets they sell. The better players they can get, the more coverage you get. It's a spiral, isn't it? So you do it for one team, and it works across clubs as well. So obviously, if people see Arsenal doing that, then those clubs will take that as well and just go, well, we should do the same. So, because the benefit of Arsenal getting the ticket gate and another club not getting the ticket gate, they'll reap the rewards of it. So it won't be long before others follow suit. So it's only good for the game. It's good for Arsenal fans. It's good for fans of football from both sides. And yeah, the only way is up, really.
Yeah, definitely. No, I fully agree, mate. It's brilliant to see, and hopefully other clubs start taking suit, and it will just, for me, it will just raise the level of the game. And it's about trying to get the very best players into the league, isn't it, as well? And no offence, I'm sure. Obviously, playing in front of an Emirates packed stadium is probably a player's dream, if I'm being totally honest. So hopefully, by us doing that, it gives us a good head start in terms of trying to attract players moving forward. I'm just going to go to
both, by the way, not just for the women, but men and women.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
both
I think
the sides of the coin.
I think the Premier League can attract the players at the moment, can't it?
Yeah.
It's just now about, obviously, like as I said, like we can start attracting the very best players over, and if we're leading the way in terms of the stadium moving, obviously having the players playing in the stadium. Because how many times is it this year, G? Is it 4 or 5 times this year so far?
I think that was the 5th.
4th. Was it 4th, 5th?
5th, I think.
5th.
And they did like a mini season ticket offer of like if you brought all 5, or it might even be the 6th, then you would get like a slight discount of like 50 quid. It was 50 quid for all
There
of
was
the
6
games.
in the season ticket because I looked it up, so I don't know if there's one left. But there was definitely 6 in the season ticket.
Yeah, and the good thing as well, obviously, we've talked about it so many times, but coming out of the Champions League, they were obviously looking at those fixtures being at the Emirates as well. So this fixture wasn't actually supposed to be at the Emirates. However, from losing those games, the club added this as an extra, which I just think is amazing. You know, that you can't fault us of what they're trying to do. They could have easily just been like, no, you're not supposed to be here today. I know obviously the men were away, but they still had the they gave it to us, and I think the turnout, and from a little bit of like inside knowledge, somebody works in and around the armory, they actually say that the armory makes a lot more money on the women's games than they are at the men's. And obviously I think that's more of, there's loads of new fans, loads of kids and stuff going for the first time, buying all these shirts and stuff, but all these things wouldn't have been extra revenue for the club 2 years ago, would they? So, and I went to one of the games that had like 3,000 there in the Champions League against Barcelona a couple of years ago. So yeah, all these extra things are just going to benefit the club, whether that gets put into the club overall or back into the women's side. It's all better than it could have been, isn't it? So yeah, I think we should be very proud that our club is sort of setting the tone for that.
Definitely, and I think long may it continue as well. We are striving, we are moving, and we'll continue to moving forwards. Right, I was attending to kind of close the show right now, but there is a little but at the moment, so we'll keep you on for a couple of minutes, guys. Obviously, this has flashed up. Everton 2, Liverpool 0. Oh, that's a stinger. That is a stinger. So I just want to kind of do a round robin and kind of get your kind of reflection and thoughts around it. I know you'll be kind of chomping at the bit with this kind of result. Obviously, we do need a big result with Man City more than anything. I'm going to go with you, Jonesy, first. Are the bin dippers out of the title race?
You can never say never, can you? But no, I was laughed at the playground this morning. You know, you drop the kids in and the dads will have a chat about the footy at the weekend. I said Everton would win tonight. They laughed me out the playground. Who's laughing now? I'm doing a Farage little impression there. But you just don't know, do you? There's so many, I think there's twists and turns to go in this Premier League. I've been reading as well, Haaland and Foden are out tomorrow night for City. You just hope our boy Danny Welbs can do us a favour. Then we do our job on Sunday, which is more important than anything. You know, it's great Everton picking up points tonight and, you know, stopping Liverpool, but we've got to do what we've got to do Sunday. But yeah, Klopp looks like, from the pictures I've seen, Klopp looks like he's given up. He's like, can tell he's out of it.
Going over to you, Sparksy. What's your current thoughts? Ryan saying if we win a North London derby, he thinks they're out of it Sunday. They would have to basically at the moment rely on us to lose a game.
Yeah.
This is even without Man City, plus drop another game because of the goal difference.
Mm.
Yeah, we've still got United, so that's still got potential. But I think if we win on Sunday, I think that puts that to bed. I think that puts them out of the title race. I think if we get 3 points on Sunday, I think that puts it out. Because even then, if we lose to United, we've got to lose by 10 goals or something for them to come back on goal difference to get back. So yeah, it's down to us again. He kind of puts the thing back in our hands. as far as Liverpool are concerned. But the biggest threat's City, isn't it? It's they're 4 points behind, 2 games in hand. It's in their hands. So yeah, we need a favour from Brighton. We need the wheels to fall off, which invariably it doesn't with City, does it? So
surely it's got to happen.
It's got to happen at some point, hasn't it? It's got to happen at some point. But
4 away games out of 6. I know, like, obviously 2 of them are Fulham and Nottingham Forest, but Nottingham Forest fighting for not getting relegated. Fulham have got a couple of decent results this year. Obviously, weren't so positive against Liverpool Sunday.
No, I thought Liverpool against Fulham would just looked really panicked. They looked really.
I think they looked frantic, didn't they? I think, like you said, pretty frantic.
Fulham no control in the game whatsoever. Just I don't really understand that, to be honest.
And also, Gooner saying, obviously, he thinks that Forest will get a result against City Sunday. 2 games in 3 days, yet again, right, or 2 away games. So then, like that, when you start looking like that, City have literally got to be focused, haven't they? Obviously, the unfortunate thing is though that they got the experience of seeing this kind of through. But we need another twist in this title race, don't we?
Yeah, it's going to happen. Something is going to happen.
Yeah, from our point of view, anyway, we've seen stranger things, but invariably they don't happen to City, do they? But we could just take care of ourselves and then hope for the best in it.
Exactly.
But I did post on a few Twitter sites. Come on, Everton! Come on, Everton! So I'm taking some credit.
So obviously, excuse the Fulham and Everton game with Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool's remaining games: West Ham away on Saturday at 12:30. That's not a gimme whatsoever. Spurs at home, Aston Villa away, and Wolves at home. I think that's a pretty tricky running, if you like to ask me. Like, I know, obviously, when you look at ours, it's not a gimme either. You got Spurs away, Bournemouth at home, Man United away, Everton at home. You'd probably look at them 2 away games. If you get 6 points out of them 2 away games, then you're starting to think could there be a title party. But as we said, you start looking at the Man City running, you probably do need a favour over the next 2 games, even if it's just a drop of 2 points. I suppose the other thing as well, G, last night is that 5 goals that we got last night is absolutely massive. It was unexpected in a big game like that. You'd like to think now, between now and the end of the season, with the 2 games with Bournemouth and Everton, I'm not saying we're going to smash them, but we've got good records against these 2 teams, especially Everton, in terms of scoring quite highly against them at home. You'd like to think that the goal difference now is really in our favour if it did go down to the same points.
It's massive, isn't it? Like, I think I've even been saying it for years that that's the thing that we need to get a grip on, because we don't know what obviously we don't know what's going to happen. We're 5 to 4 games left, and we're still in this position of we're all just overlapping each other at the moment. Last weekend we were all down at the dumps thinking it's over, and now we're back up again and thinking, oh god, it's still on. So yeah, anything can happen, which is exciting for once, because no matter what happens, I think we can be proud of how we've kept going in the times where we've had some rough patches and come back through it again. But yeah, to have scored more goals than City is just nuts to me. Like, that doesn't normally happen.
It definitely is when we're sitting there saying we need a left winger and a striker.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so we got to take a bit of pride. Obviously, that's not a trophy in itself, but that anything that can help us is going to be way more beneficial. And to have got 5 more goals yesterday, I was just thinking, obviously at that point, just don't let a goal in. Yeah. Don't let one of them slip. Get another one or something. Keep going. And I was happy that we did keep going and didn't sort of sit back on it as well yesterday. So I think they've sort of also clicked in their mind that, because we have before maybe not carried on and sort of settled for a 2 or 3. But yeah, it's going down to the wire, isn't it? And if we've got that in our favour, then fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely going to go down to the wire, hopefully, as long as we don't slip up. Win against Tottenham on Sunday, Jonesy. Do you see us fighting it on the last day of the season? It's got to be. If you go and beat Chelsea 5-0 and go and win at Tottenham, surely the confidence then, like we're talking about a Manchester United team that struggled to beat Coventry. We're talking about a Manchester United team that struggled to beat Sheffield United today at home. They're going to have one eye on the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
There's never, ever going to be a better time to go to Old Trafford is there to pick up 3 points.
No, absolutely not. But it just scares me, innit? It's like we've been there before. It's just winning the title at Old Trafford, maybe. You never know.
I don't think we'll get down to that. We need a massive Man City collapse for that, though, surely.
3 losses, maybe, yeah. But it's just... I can't predict anything. You just got to win on Sunday. Hopefully Brighton do something tomorrow. But yeah, I agree with G. It's just we're there. And that's all we wanted, to be there, and to be challenging it to go on to the last day of the season. It'd be amazing if we get an Aguero. Well, fuck Aguero. If we get another Thomas, Thomas moment and Anfield 89 in 2024, then I'll be happy, mate. I don't know. I'm scared.
One game at a time, mate. One game at a time. We just got to concentrate on Spurs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that the uplift, if we beat Spurs on Sunday after winning Chelsea 5-0, I think that the turning point is the Wolves game. I think to win that game in the magnitude that the players were absolutely on their foot, on the floor, knackered, tired, just obviously lost in Munich. I think it could go down. It could be one of those like kind of moments where you still look back and you think that was a turning point. Winning that game was a turning point. So, but we got to go and do the business on Sunday first, and it's not going to be easy. They're not going to hand anything to us on a plate. It's going to be a feisty old affair, and yeah, I'm buzzing for it. I ain't going to lie to you. Mm-hmm. That bar's definitely open Sunday. Absolutely. Right. Lastly, just going to go through score predictions. So, obviously, G, Sunday. I'm going to want, obviously, before we do that, just obviously remind everyone that obviously Everton versus Arsenal women is on Sunday as well. So, that's a 12:30 kickoff. So, I'm sure Ryan will be doing a watch along for that to start with and then move into the Arsenal Tottenham game. So, 2 big games Sunday, G. What are you going for?
We love a double match day as well, where we can watch both back to back. Lovely. Yeah, I think it'll be maybe a 2 or 3-0 win for the women's. I think it's hopefully pretty comfortable. For the men, I'm going to say 2-1.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna, because you just don't know, they're jammy, aren't they? But from our performance there last year, actually having to come through it and win, which is something we ticked off our list of doing for a little while. Hopefully we've got that momentum at the moment, shall we say. We'll go for 2-1.
Cool. If anyone in the chat, if they want to put their results out, Gooner sent me, he's going for a 3-1 Arsenal win Sunday. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal as well. I think it's going to be one of them games where it is going to be quite feisty, but I think our midfield will come strong. And I'm on the belief that the only reason they got a point at the Emirates was Declan Rice going off injured. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have Declan Rice or Thomas Partey. So I just think if them 3 play and they play to their capacity, I don't see us losing. So, yeah, I'm going to go 3-1. Over to you, Sparksy.
I'm going to go 4-0 for the ladies and 3-1 for the men. Yeah, cool. Again, I just think it'd be that kind of game. It'd just be they'll come on to us and we'll play through them quite easily.
I'm going to go 3-0, ladies. I'm going to go 3-0. Fancy Beth to get a goal again. I fancy Russo as well. 3-0 going for. Matthew Hudson's going for 3-0 for the ladies. He's going 2-0 for the men's, and the Hawkwind's going for a 2-1 tight win. Over to you, Jonesy, the man of reason, shall we say, the man of optimism.
4-0 for the ladies. 3-2 Arsenal. Last minute goal.
Oh, don't do that to me. I don't know.
I can't take that.
That's hard work, mate. That is.
That's Arsenal, mate. That is Arsenal. Hard work.
Are you going for the winner?
Gabriel header corner.
Do you think as well, just going into it, the quality of Havertz's goals yesterday, especially the first one for me, the way he finished it, I think that's a big thing for Saturday Sunday as well. I think that's going to give him a lot of confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. They were quality finishes, especially, Cucurella was right on his heels. Shout out to Ben White, though, what he done to him. That was great. But yeah, Cucurella, that great. And then the second one, the way he just put it back across and in off the post. He's finishing his chances now, so he's definitely working. He's definitely doing something in training, working on finishing or whatever. But yeah, he will be key. He'll definitely be key on Sunday. Definitely.
Well, obviously, thank you very much, guys, for your obviously hospitality this evening and joining us on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Obviously, thank you to Dan as well. Hope you all have a good weekend, and yeah, hopefully on Sunday we'll all be absolutely singing, dancing come 4:00. Fingers crossed, Fingers crossed. Obviously, just moving into kind of shows for the rest of the week. As I said, there is a show on Sunday with Ryan's channel, so he will do the watch along. And as I said, he would probably do the Everton and Arsenal game prior to the Arsenal Tottenham. So I'm sure he'll go live between 12 and 12:15 for that. I will be on here from the bar. I'm actually out on a Saturday night though, so. It's going to be a mess.
He was steaming.
and they're all Liverpool fans. And they're all Liverpool fans as well. So if they lose to West Ham by that point, I think they'll be drinking in their sorrows, definitely.
No, they'll call it off.
Yeah, definitely. They should call it off. Obviously, thank you to everyone who's been in the chat yet again. Some absolute great content and some great chat. So thank you very much. Just to let you guys know as well, today we are currently sitting, as we speak at present, near to 1,100 views. So obviously, thank you to everyone for coming on again and obviously just sharing the channel with us and obviously engaging in the channel. We're very grateful for that. And any feedback is a gift. So if you want to give me some feedback, feel more than free to give me a DM or a message. But apart from that, obviously, have a great weekend, guys. Hopefully up the Arsenal. 3 points for the men, 3 points for the women Sunday, and we're all laughing. Good evening.